Right then, if you're here, I expect you've decided you want the current best resin 3D printer on the consumer market. But wait a minute, there are two best printers, and both of them are made by the same company. So how do you decide between the best and the best? Well, it depends on what you want your printer for, and so which of the features you need. That's why we're going to cover the differences today so you can walk away knowing which purchase is best for you. These machines do a lot, and there's a lot to cover, so let's get on with it. Hi, I'm Ross, and this is Fohammer Videos. Okay, quickly. The thing I'm not going to go deep into the argument for again is proprietary resin. I've got a separate video on that, and the TLDR is these machines use proprietary resin. They are probably compatible with a lot more resins out there, but it's on you or other people in the community to test those results. Suffice to say, this has been the most polarizing aspect of Heygears printers, but whether you're for or against it is a choice, and it's your choice. I came out the gate with the same initial reaction as many of you, and that was, no guys, is this a joke? The price of that resin, seriously. But the more time I've been self-compelled to work with these machines, the more I've realized just how incredible this whole system and workflow is when compared to the competition. These are the best printers on the market, and in some ways they are the best because of the proprietary resin. These are the only ones that offer the highest quality, no hassle resin printing, but I also understand how this feels limiting to so many people, especially on price. Though, whilst many have said these machines are far too expensive for hobby machines, but in fairness, even the more expensive Reflex printer is a similar price to a Bambu Labs X1 Carbon, and they're selling like hotcakes. Still, years later. But anyway, as I've said, and then I've got into doing it, I'm not going to do that whole argument again here. I've done it, it's your choice, and at least it's a choice that you have. Moving on to the comparison. Both machines have a similar industrial look from the outset, but the RS is made of more plasticky components overall. The RS's dimensions are 380 by 360 by 584 millimeters, and it weighs in at 20 kilos. The Reflex is larger and beefier at 400 by 420 by 573 millimeters, and this one weighs in at 25 kilos. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, the additional external features of these machines include the ports. Both machines support the pulsing release module, which is basically an air compressor that pumps air in between the screen and the build plate to reduce vacuum on the screen and reduce pull forces. This speeds up prints and reduces the size of support contact points you need for success, and that reduces the amount of cleanup you need after a print. Often, and with the right resins, it eradicates it entirely. The Reflex has an internal PSU with the power socket and the power switch on the right hand side of the rear panel. The RS has an external PSU which connects on the front right side next to the power switch. Both machines have a USB port on the front right side, not that I've ever needed these because the built-in Wi-Fi capabilities on both machines and direct integration with Blueprint Slicer and app means that I only ever had to transfer files remotely. The newer RS, however, also has an SD card expansion slot so you can expand the internal memory. Both machines have a deep amber flip-up lid that you can only really see through when the orange internal lights are switched on, and even then you only really get a silhouette of your print, if that, but it does have very strong external UV protection, so double-edged sword, bit of a plus minus. The flip-up lids themselves are similar, and whilst the Reflex has bracings looking to reinforce the mechanism, the seemingly simpler design on the RS allows you to hold the lid open at any point you like, where the older Reflex doesn't. Another small feature of the Reflex is for when you remove the resin bottle. Both printers have an opening in the back to insert an inverted bottle, and the Reflex has a larger opening, which was lightly indicated a long while ago would actually be for larger bottles, but these, if they were coming, never came out. But anyway, the Reflex, however, has this small push button on the side. When you lift the resin halfway out, press this and release the resin bottle, and this clip holds the bottle above the feeder on the vat to let any residual resin drip into the feeding tray part of the vat, and the RS has no such function. Both machines are also able to read the RFID tag inside the resin bottles to determine what resin type is inserted, but the Reflex also has some kind of sensors that are able to estimate remaining bottle volume too, and as far as I can tell, the RS doesn't have this volume estimation function. And also, one of the other things you'll see on the outside of the machine is the UI. The Reflex has a much larger UI. In fact, it's almost twice the size. And whilst the UIs are slightly different, the extra space is mostly used for larger text and more pictograms. The Reflex has its various control sections listed down the left-hand side for quick access, where the RS has a home screen with pretty much the same sections as large buttons and doesn't have the quick access side buttons. But the RS screen is still decently large, so I honestly can't see any valuable reason why they didn't just stick with a much more similar design for both units. Finally, getting inside the machine, we can see that both units have dual linear rails built around an incredibly solid metal framework, and both use a smooth motion ball screw. Where things start to change in more important ways is with the build volume. The Reflex has a build area of 191 by 122 mm and a height of 220. The RS is actually larger at 222 by 122 with a build height of 230. It's only a slight difference, but I must admit I have felt a little restricted at times by the smaller Reflex, especially when there are so many other 10-inch printers on the market of almost equal size. The build plates on both machines differ. First of all, these are both steel build plates, no soft aluminium here, and it shows where your money goes when you're buying a Heygears machine. The Reflex plate has relief holes, and some people don't like these, but they're actually good for reducing the pressure of compressing resin in those early layers. The downside is that they often get full of resin, so you need to wait a bit after a print for them to drain out before moving that print to a cleaning area. The RS plate is flat and has no holes, but because the top is flat, you need to scrape off the residual resin after every print, or again, this will drip when transferring it to a cleaning area. Each plate attaches to the Z-arm with a compression latch, but the Reflex latch is a chunkier handle where the RS is a cheap lever, and the downward curve actually encourages a little bit of hand slippage. It's just a bit, but it's worth mentioning as both the Reflex and some other printers have done this better. When it comes to the vat, both are chunky and solid, and they're quite similarly shaped, though the Reflex vat has compression levers holding it down, whereas the RS has twirly knobs. I prefer the levers. Both machines use crystal clear PFA release film and have a great pour spout on the front left corner. Like, I have spent this generation having a war against crappy pour spouts on Vats. This is how you do it, guys. Exactly like this. It pours, it doesn't drip down the side of the vat. This is how pour spout should be done. If there's anything that other brands need to take note of here, it's this. On the opposite corner to the spout, each vat has a protrusion with a post. This is what pushes on the springs inside Heygears resin bottles, allowing the resin to flow into the tank. Where this gets slightly complex is the Reflex also has a mechanical sluice gate to allow or stop resin flowing into the main tank, whereas the RS just stops the flow when the resin in the vat reaches the neck of the bottle. Now, honestly, I think this is just a bit of unnecessary over-engineering on the Reflex, personally. And I've had so many times where the resin level is low before I go to start a print, and instead of this gate opening automatically and filling the vat, the printer just warns me resin level too low, leaving me to scream at it, well, fill it then. But considering voice control is not an option, I resigned to just turn the feature off entirely, which forces the gate to stay in the open position, turning this printer into no better than the RS when it comes to this feature. Now, the next difference that's VAT related comes in terms of heating. The Reflex comes as standard with a heated vat, and if you get the pulsing release module, there is a slightly different vat which allows for airflow between the screen and the release film, but features wise this is the same as the Reflex vat in terms of heating. And I call this out because on the RS, the standard vat you get with it is not heated, but you can purchase a heated vat, and this is powered separately from the printer itself. There's actually a small unit that comes with the vat which connects to the back left corner, and this also contains an IR resin level sensor, something else the RS doesn't have as standard. The Reflex, however, does have dual IR and capacitive sensor module in the box when you buy it. But anyway, I'm getting further from the point I'm trying to make. In addition to this RS vat having an integrated heater, this vat is also a requirement if you upgrade the printer to include the pulsing release module too, as this is the only one that has the channels for the pulsing release module's airflow. So whilst you may not need the pulsing release module or just choose not to have it, if you want the heated vat in the RS, it's actually called the pulsing release vat because it's compatible with the pulsing release module, but that's the only heated vat in the RS. Does that make sense? If not, well, that's on Heygears marketing, and I've tried to explain it. Now, one feature of the RS which is still yet to bear fruit for me because I've only been advised of it but still haven't seen an integration method is a screw thread behind the vat, which is intended for mounting a GoPro or similar camera. But even with this in, I've had it confirmed that the printer will not actually control the device anyway, so it's not like you can generate layer synchronized time lapses, which to me makes the inclusion of this half measure kind of redundant. Honestly, they'd have been better off just not telling me about it at all. Now below the vat, we've got our screens. Forget all that 4K, 8K, 16K nonsense. Heygears don't list printers like that because they're a proper professional printer manufacturer with years of experience in industrial printing. They don't need to rely on such silly metrics to sell printers. What they do advertise, however, is pixel size and, get this, voxel accuracy too. Yeah, they've measured how accurate a single printed voxel can be when compared to the size of the pixels on the display. And because these are both the sharpest printers I've ever personally used, I cannot see a difference between them on their absolute sharpest material, the PAP10 resin. But actual useful specifications wise that all of the brands really should do, but I'm worried don't know how, the Reflex has a pixel size of 33 microns with an accuracy of plus minus 16 microns. The RS has a 30 micron pixel size with an accuracy of 15 microns. On paper, that makes the RS the better printer, but the difference is a maximum of 4 microns. That's 1/17th the thickness of a human hair in difference. Where there is a bigger difference between them is with the light source. The Reflex light source outputs UV at a wavelength of 385 nanometers, where the RS uses a more consumer printer standard of 405 nanometers. What this means practically is that the RS isn't compatible with several of Heygears' more technical resins. But I honestly believe this is more of a software lock, and it's because this 405 nanometer light source isn't able to cure those resins at an adequate quality level for Heygears, who want to ensure quality in prints from their machines above anything else. So just to be clear, what I'm saying is the 405 nanometer wavelength of the RS probably would cure those more technical resins, just not at a high enough quality for Heygears to put out to you. But whilst the Reflex is compatible with all Heygears' current materials, the RS only supports the following: PAWW10, which is their water washable material, PAS10, which is a solid all-rounder, PARP10, which comes in matte grey purple or beige orange, and I love this stuff for miniatures and even did a whole video about it when it was first released because it was one of their more affordable ones. They also have PAP10, which is incredibly high detail and the one I use for larger master prints. And finally, PAWR10, which comes in two slightly different cream colours and has an incredibly smooth surface that's wear resistant. So this means that currently their transparent PAT10 resin and the wax-like castable PAC10 resin and the ABS-like PAU10 resin are all off the table for the newer RS printer. Oh, and also their more fun CMYK PAM10 resin is also not compatible too, but that one leaves me scratching my head because in my testing it was quite a basic material and it's fun to mix the colours to make your own. I actually did a separate video on colour mixing resins for another brand which, well, it was fun, so check out that video too. But there's a part of me that hopes that that was just a typo or accidentally missed in the documents they sent me. Check out Heygears' website for the latest compatibility information, and when you do, please click my affiliate links in this video's description to take you there. After all, I'm not paid to make these videos, I only get paid if the information has helped and you click on the link before making a purchase, so I can get a commission from the sale at no cost to you. And I want to say thanks in advance for doing that. But different resin types are important to different people, depending what they want to create. And I feel the RS is limited now by not having transparent or castable resins available when so many other basic printers do. It's yet another limit on what is already a somewhat limiting product. So I hope Heygears corrects this, and if they do, I expect the correction method will be to create new resins in time to replace these ones. Now, both printers are equipped with a ton of pressure and temperature sensors everywhere. It has pressure sensors in the plate and in the vat under the screen, and these are used to detect the pull forces when lifting resin from the release film. And the printer can dynamically speed up or slow down to ensure no layers are exceeding the required force for successful and detailed prints. And on contrast to this, it does the opposite too. When the force is low, the printer can speed up, which ensures you get the fastest possible printing times for a machine of this type with this release film, but with the priority always being printing success and quality. And because of these sensors, this is also why I believe the printer's compatible with various third-party resins. You just can't dial it in the same way you can with a standard printer. But these sensors ensure that the pull forces aren't too high, which means even if you put a third-party resin in, the printers should dynamically compensate their lift and retract settings in order to suit almost any material. But as I've mentioned previously, the results may vary, and it's up to you and the community to test it. Please be sure to check out Greedy3D, who's done a ton of tests like this already. Now, if you don't know, I want to mention it again. The biggest benefit of Heygears and all of this proprietary stuff is the in-app support. If you have any issues on your prints, you can contact Heygears within the Blueprint app, that's the slicer, and directly ask them what to do to improve your quality even further. No more hunting around Facebook groups or message boards for misinformation. You get real advice from 3D printing professionals. And if you've used any other slicer on the market, this one does take some getting used to, but the more you use it and break away from your old habits like which mouse button is for move and which one's for rotate, you'll quickly begin to realize just how much better this whole workflow is. And once you nail it, it's drag, drop, rotate, support, and print. Now finally, I want to give another shout out to the phone app, which is non-intrusive and very informative. Keep an eye on printer progress and get handy notifications of when prints start and finish, or any errors between. And the only error I had was when I accidentally left part of a model on the build plate, which the machine detected, stopped the print, and notified me of instantly. But it's also this app that makes me wish the printers had a built-in camera and light so I could actually see my prints remotely and create time lapses I could share with the world as video shorts, which would lead to free marketing from many people for Heygears, just like we do with our bamboo printers. So come on Heygears, realize that this is free marketing if you include that one small feature. Or even better, sell it as an add-on module. That'd be cool, yeah? But yeah, those are all the key differences in these machines, and a couple of rants from me. And you may be more confused now than when you started, so let's quickly recap. The Reflex has a few benefits on its side, from minor to more important stuff. An internal PSU, the resin bottle drip catch, a larger UI, a solid build plate handle rather than a downward curved lever, a vat that clips in and comes with a heater and resin level sensor as standard. And I almost added the sluice gate to this list, but as I said before, I think it's over-engineered and in my case doesn't work on auto mode anyway. However, and I need to bring it up because it's hard to show, an intrinsic observation is that the whole Reflex machine just feels like a much more sturdy product. Not that the RS is poor, the RS is still better built than any other machine I know out there, and I know, as I've said, the difference is hard to show, but if you had both and felt both, you'd know what I mean. The Reflex feels sturdier, chunkier, more like a solid industrial product. And it is hard to show these things. I'll bring it up again because I've mentioned it in both my previous videos. It's like the people who are commenting on my videos, things like Heygears is overpriced trash, when it isn't. If you could see one of these in action and play with it versus anything else you have, you'd see instantly what I mean. So since I can't show it, all I can do is say it and hope you trust in me enough to take my word for it. These machines are so well built that they make every other printer that's come before them look like toys. They are. You'll see what I mean once you actually get one and compare it to any other machine you've ever touched previously. Yeah, that's it. But I think the most important reason right now to pick up the Reflex is obvious. It's for supporting all of Heygears' current resin types. Now, I've supposed a future where Heygears make new resins to replace these incompatible ones, and whilst I do think this is a sensible thing for them to do, I'm basing this idea on little more than my personal hope. So don't go buying it right now based on that. Please check out the website, links in the description, and check out the current resin compatibility chart depending on when you're watching this video. Now, when we look at the newer RS printer, well, it's a smaller and lighter machine with a larger print volume. It's got upgradable internal storage, a better lid, and the heated vat is now an optional accessory rather than something everyone's charged for. And whilst I personally feel that all printers should come with heaters, enough people have voiced their opinions that they don't want to be charged for something they don't feel they need. But again, I still would ask those people to try a printer with a built-in heater to see how important consistent temperature is year-round and all hours of the day and night before being so firm in that assessment. But it is optional now, which is a balanced choice, I guess. I just wish it was internally powered rather than needing its own PSU. But yeah, this is a larger printing volume, and if you want to split hairs into 17.5 equal pieces and count one of them, it's higher quality too. And that's measured by the output printed voxel, not just the size of the pixel on the screen. So when it comes to deciding on buying, again, this is an individual's choice. Now, personally, I don't feel like I need the extras the Reflex offers. The transparent resin was a handy extra, which I'm making a separate video on, or maybe I've made it by now. I've filmed it. It depends when this gets edited and when that gets edited. But I do like transparent resin for some of my projects. And I also like the stronger build quality of the Reflex. It feels tougher. But since I have them both, I've gone back to the RS far more frequently lately than the Reflex, because more than anything, and I know this is probably more pseudo-psychological than it even really matters, it's just knowing I have the larger build area available. Who'd have thought an extra 1.5 inches matters so much? I hope this video has helped you make a decision on the machines and understand the differences. If it has, just a reminder to use those affiliate links before making your purchases. If I have any offer codes at any time, I'll update the main review video for each machine, and I'll drop links to those videos in the description of this video so you can find them easily. I want to say thanks for watching, with a huge thanks going out to our members who are on screen now. Please consider joining them to get your name in lights, along with early access, exclusive videos too, and you also now get member level Discord roles on our server. Until next time, I'd just as soon kiss a Wookiee. Fohammer out.